Hello and welcome to the MADEcast, the official podcast for the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment, a series of lectures on video game history as part of the MADE's ongoing effort to preserve history through teaching and displaying playable exhibits of rare games and consoles.
While life in the time of COVID has forced us to close our doors, the support of people like you has allowed us to continue to bring history to you through lectures like the one you'll hear in a few minutes. I'm Chen.
I'm Miles.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Red. This week, we join Alex as we talk with Khris Brown, the VO director and audio engineer at Double Fine Studios. We talk with her about the game she's worked on and get some advice from her about getting into the industry. And I do have to say, this was a fun chat that we had with her. A lot of insightful knowledge and a little bit of fun stories about her time working with Jack Black with Brutal Legend. I thought that was pretty cool. Miles, Chun, what did you guys think? And you got anything you want to say about the interview?
It was a lot of fun. It was interesting to talk to someone and listen in on someone who's really sort of done a lot of games. Like, that sounds kind of dumb. Like, she worked on Brutal Legend. She worked on The Cave, which was Double Fine. She worked on Psychonauts, like all of these games. And specifically the audio side of it, which is, stuff that we're going into. And so it's interesting to just hear sort of the shop talk and go into that.
It's always good to have someone more experienced than you to talk with. You can really ask a lot of stuff that you thought you might know, but actually you don't. Or maybe just get some advice so that you can be better in the future.
Yeah, and legit, it's a nice little peek behind the curtain as well of like getting into what it's actually like to make the audio side of this and like record and have someone direct you. But we'll get into that as soon as that interview is over. But I want to throw it over to some news. We've been bringing up the shutdown of the Vita store and the PlayStation 3 store, but there's a little bit of a pushback.
Yeah, so a lot of PS Vita developers who are still making games for the PlayStation Vita were not properly given notice of the store closure. So many indie dev studio teams are sort of scrambling now to get these games out. Also, many games being canceled in the process. So
that's no fun.
Many indie devs are just sort of distraught right now at how PlayStation sort of handled this upcoming change.
PlayStation has had similar things of like lack of talking with developers before making big decisions like this, right? I'm not thinking differently because I feel like they've had similar issues before, at least with lack of communication between developers. I mean, I think they tried to change that for the PS4, at least more embracing indie devs, but maybe not enough at this moment.
I think it's kind of interesting that, there are still even games being worked on the Vita. Like, it's this interesting sort of very long tail of games being released for consoles that are really no longer new. Like, I can't remember when the last GameCube game came out, but the last PlayStation 2 game came out in 2013, November of 2013. But the PlayStation 3 came out in 2006. And the last Wii game only came out last year, like in 2020.
Yeah.
And the Wii, came out in 2007. So, it's a 14-year cycle of, the console comes out and then, the initial rush of games for it, and then it just slowly peters out.
Yeah, but I think specifically with like the Vita and stuff, it had such a niche fan base, but like consistent, like a consistent fan base that liked that portable PlayStation experience. I wish they would do another one now, but we'll see. I don't think we're going to be seeing another portable one in the future.
People have phones.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Very
sure
true.
they work that out. I mean, there are a bunch of ways. I'm not going to say what ways, but people will work that out, I think.
In other recent game news, the most expensive game ever sold recently was at Heritage Auctions this past Friday, I believe, for a sealed copy of Super Mario Brothers for the original NES, sold for $660,000. It's probably been a bit deteriorated and never playable, but it's a very cool shelf display.
I don't think it would deteriorate to the point where it's unplayable. I think you'd have more trouble finding a working NES for it than...
Yeah, I agree.
Come
like
on down to the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment when we're open, everybody, and try it out. We do have playable copies of the original.
I mean, how much would you shell out for a collectible game? Like a rare thing.
If I really, oh God, I don't even know what game, but I think if I really wanted it, I'd probably $500.
That's like my upper limit for anything, really.
Yeah, pretty much. That's like the upper limit of anything that I really want to enjoy. I'm like, 500 is the max. I gotta really love it. Really love it.
Just if you're a gamer, why would you buy the game and not playing it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, apparently, people have been buying the crap out of Monster Hunter Rise as they just passed 5 million copies sold in a weekend? Something remarkable. Oh, like little over a week, but that's another remarkable thing, and I think we can talk about this a little bit after too, but everything about the Monster Hunter, every new Monster Hunter release, it's the same talk of this is the most approachable Monster Hunter, and it's going to open the doors for everybody. I think we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
We'll get into it, but I do not know.
Not now.
No, I do not know. But
Not now.
I think it is time to throw it on over with the interview with Alex Khris Brown and us. So get excited. Here they are. Here we are. Woo! Enjoy.
And we are back with Khris Brown. Khris, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming back again. This we of course, with an audio engineer on the line, I screwed up the audio recording.
It's a pleasure.
So you were at Lucasfilm Games and LucasArts when the change happened between names.
Yes, the first one.
How did you get to be there, and what were you doing, and how did you move on to what became your career?
I started there as a temp, working in tech support for 2 weeks on a break from college, and then I was asked to stay, and then became the manager of that department, and then we started doing what we called talkies, and they needed someone who had experience with talent and casting and also working with actors in a creative way, and I had some experience with that from a previous internship. So started working on Sam & Max as my first project and casting that, and then went on to do Full Throttle and then all of the Star Wars games and Tim Schafer games through Grim Fandango.
So casting Sam and Max, I mean, this was when having a voice actor in a video game was a brand new concept. And Sam and Max was sort of like this totem for Lucasfilm Games at the time, the unofficial mascot, right? That must have been a very interesting process.
Yes, it was great. I'm good friends with Steve Purcell and Sean and Mike, the project leads. So a lot of us were fans, and we were really, really familiar with the comic books and kind of the feeling and ethos of the combination of morality and absurdism. So being able to bring that to the actors were thrilled to have an opportunity to have that combination of mirth and innocent malice.
Yeah, some of those lines in the Sam and Max game are sort of delivered in a very interesting deadpan fashion. Like, how did you get that kind of a portrayal out of it? I mean, this is not your standard cartoon fare, right? It's almost like a noir cartoon.
It is very much, yeah, and it's got a whole sort of Dragnet vibe to it. So there were a lot of things from film noir, and then as that shifted in the 50s, and then sort of became sort of the Dragnet, and then almost into like the Naked Gun. There's a great sensibility there where there's sort of this rich depth of powerful meaning and darkness, but also because of that, you push so far that you get into the flip side of comedy. The actors were really, really attuned to that. Both Bill Farmer and Nick Jameson came from cartoons. Bill Farmer had come from Disney, was doing Goofy, and Nick Jameson was on something called The Critic, which sort of was a Simpsons, there's a lot of rich send-up vibes there that exist.
Yeah, no, the John Lovitz show is a great show.
Yeah.
So also you tracked down Admiral Akbar at some point too for TIE Fighter, I believe, right?
Did. Yes, that was Eric Bowersfeld, and he did not have any kind of internet, or he barely had a phone that he answered messages from, and he was a linguist and professor, a Shakespearean actor, very well known in the Bay Area community, especially at Cal where he taught, and Ben Burt had known him from developing some Hatti's language things, and then they had lost contact. So I did a bunch of digging and eventually tracked him down and got a typewritten 3x5 card with his name and phone number on it, and called him up, and he was willing to come be Akbar again, and we worked together for months in a little studio in Fairfax in California, and he was just the loveliest, just deep and generous and kind and wonderful.
How do you explain to these voice actors how to deliver things? I mean, we talked about Afterlife in the original one. I love some of the voice acting in there, the phrase dribble nerds and so forth. But on the other side of it, it's really sort of dry stuff. It's explaining how to play the game, right? Even though it's embellished with fun text. How do you get these actors to say, you need to build more siphons in order to expand your world? And how do you communicate with them to do that?
I think it has to do with loving the games myself and bringing that enthusiasm and joy and reverence, and also the background of the technical support and the customer support that I did in the very, very first few years of my work at LucasArts. So it's being able to have that enthusiasm live within myself, live within my body, so that it comes out in my voice when conveying that to the actors. About it, they're excited about it. I'm interested and curious. They are as well. And it comes from a deep love of the users and wanting to have them have an enjoyable experience.
So since you're in the audio engineering world in games, and we have our three of our hosts here from the podcast who also are audio engineers, I thought I'd turn it over to them to let them ask questions here. Who's first, guys?
I'll field one. So I guess my first question sort of loops back to something Alex was talking about a little earlier. I'm curious sort of what the development of working with voice talent how has that changed from when you started working to now? Like when you started working with games like
Full Throttle and some of the earlier games.
Yes, thank you. The very classic stuff, like transitioning from 2D games to point and click games to 3D games to like Full Throttle to like, how did that change over time essentially?
I think the difference now is that people really understand what games are and the type of emotional power that they can have for the player. There's a really deep meaning of what 60 hours of gameplay, or even, if you're playing Hades, it can be 30 minutes of gameplay, but it's still the importance of the veracity that needs to come to each moment as each line is spoken. I think that in the beginning, people really didn't understand. They didn't understand why it mattered, or that people had an emotional investment in games. And so there was a lot more explanation to say, no, look, even when you're playing Pac-Man, you have an emotional investment. It's not just about winning. There's a whole thing that's going on within human psychology about wanting to do well and making up stories, because we're a storytelling group of animals. So yeah, and I think that people really understand that on a much more intuitive level nowadays than they did before. Do you mean I'm sorry, I'm not quite clear. Hmm. 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 Mm. Mm. Yeah, I do. I think that there's a greater understanding. Tom Abernathy, who's the narrative director at ArenaNet, fantastic talk about the head. Right, he himself does not direct the voices so much as I understand it, but he gave a great talk at GDC about the importance of character, and that when people go away and come back, what's important for them is not the lore, which is the keeping track of the, like, Lord of the Rings style, right? Like if you have to understand the movements of armies and peoples and developments across time, and track all that stuff, what sticks with people and what resonates with them most powerfully is character. And so the thing that has always helped me to convey the most effective way to give a powerful performance in a game is to speak the truth of the moment. That then that can be applicable at any time, in any place, with any type of background. And we do that in helping the writers refine their work as well, to get them to write something that is true and is not, as much as possible, necessarily context dependent. You know, it always will be to a certain degree, or to write specific lines within a group of contextual applicability. It's really the actor being able to access their truth, and then bring it so that doesn't necessarily have to be tied. I'm not sure if that answers the question. Mhm. 100%, yeah. And it's to always be telling the truth. Like, that's really the thing, so that it's not put on. Oh my God. I will never, ever have enough positive Jack. He is the most just, I mean, he defies any type of he's the loveliest. When we talk about being pure of heart and we talk about speaking the truth, he is fearless, and he will go anywhere, and he will bring 100% commitment and honesty to that performance. He has no bullpucky. Like, he has no I'm trying to think of a polite word for, but he doesn't have any, like, egotistical needs at all. Like, he's 100% committed to whatever the performance is. And these incredible, I mean, as a dramatic actor, his capacity to express intense vulnerability, like, if you watch some of his film work, he's amazing. And he loves, like, he's willing to do things and to explore areas that I think that lesser mortals would never dare. Yeah, I mean, I adore him. Like, and I'm not saying that because he's famous or well-known kind of thing doesn't matter to me. What I care about is an actor's courage. And he is just, there are no limits to his courage. I think he's astonishing. Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yes, I started out being a super nerd, so loving audio from the very beginning. I was very fortunate to be exposed to learning how to record on Mag and cut on Mag, and just sort of always experimenting and recording my own sounds as a kid. And I was just the kind of a nerdy hobbyist, listening to the different sounds of the creek. Yeah, so I think if you're passionate about it, that's the main thing, is exploring that passion, so that then you have a base of truth. Like, again, I always say this word today, the truth, but you have this base of being able to build a bond with other people. Like, it's not a career move, it's just like you can harmonize with other humans, a like level of, this is a thing that I super love, and that way you can, a way to have a conversation with people. I do think that there are so many amazing audio programs now, so I think that pursuing it, certainly pursuing some type of music is for musicians, understanding just even the general terms, but also understanding the nature of sound is massively, massively important. So even starting in junior high school, I would just get familiar, even if it's not your thing. Yeah, and then I would look also into, like, I mean, there's so many small audio groups. Like, there's the Women's Audio Mission in San Francisco, which is fantastic. Yeah, and I would join groups, like industry groups. I mean, there's a zillion Facebook groups for games in particular, where there's a lot of people, and I would go to meetups like at GDC or any small PAX audio stuff. It's a very, very small community. It's an incredibly generous community.
What do you look for when hiring someone? Like, what do you want to see in the people you're hiring? Like, their portfolio, what do you want to see, and or how do they get started in something like voice acting if you're looking for a voice actor?
That's a good question. What I look for is, well, I mean, for a very, very beginning voice actor, I look for, really simple things like, are they good on the mic? I mean, that's a basic level, mic usage. I look for comfort. I listen for really comfort. Are they able to be relaxed? Are they not easily flustered? Do they have a good sense of humor? Are they comfortable doing what they're doing? And I listen for, obviously, the characterization, and also stamina. I always go through and I listen to their demo, and I listen to whether they're doing a bunch of teeny things, or whether they have something kind of more to offer. Is it a one note dinner party joke, like where it's just sort of like, oh, this person is funny in small things and they're able portion of time. Is this person really an actor? Like, they're very committed to the craft of acting, because it is a craft. So it's less about having a good voice, and it's more about, again, as going back to the Jack thing, having that courage, having that strength to really commit to a performance for a long period of time.
Yeah. What do you think does it to take to be a good audio engineer? Oh boy, to be a good audio engineer, I mean, there's there's soft skills and there's hard skills. I think it's important to protect your hearing from an early age. I think a lot of audio engineers have a lot of struggles with being able to hear well, and it's because they love sound and they love music, and their hearing is harmed.
And I think that that's a big thing that we need to talk about in the industry. I think engineers need to be supported by their studios and also by the industry at large with greater tools and also supplementary tools if they are dealing with hearing damage, which can, when they're doing client services, mixing for a film and the director's in there and he's like, oh no, I want you to push it more. And the mixer is getting his hearing destroyed by this client on a feature. And there's no mechanism for that mixer to then go and say, hey, I'd like to have some assistance. I'd like to have a hearing aid. I'd like to have this. And so, yeah, I really feel strongly that protections for audio engineers are critically important. And soft skills, knowing what to say and when to say it is critical.
I mean, that's more of a directorial thing. I mean, you had mentioned, like, even telling them the scene that they're recording for isn't exactly the scene that they're recording for. Just imagine somebody dropped a shoe in your soup or something, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I will say whatever the thing is, that get the truth of the performance, even if it's not necessarily something that's truly happening in that moment.
So you will lie to get the truth.
I will lie to get the truth. That is an excellent way. I should put that on a business card. I will get your permission because that is my job. Yes.
Well, you can absolutely use that on your business card, Khris, and we will hopefully have you back again in the future. This has been a delight. I know that the engineers here are taking notes for their future jobs, and so and I'm taking notes to get my job on Futurama when it comes back.
Nice.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you
Khris.
so much. It's such a pleasure.
Pow.
Okay, and we're back. We're back. Okay. But I can't thank Khris enough. That was such a marvelous, delightful interview. Such a great time. I was so into it, I stumbled over my words on my last question there. I couldn't quite get it out, but we'll hopefully some...
Got to work on our interview behavior, but...
Yes. Hey, it's our first one, so chalk one down to finished, and notes taken to improve in the future. But thank you, Khris, again. Hopefully we will get a chance to talk with you once more and hear about any exciting things in the future. Again, thank you so much for your time. And everybody at Double Fine, come hang out once we can again.
I think it's pretty soon. I heard news about it already, I think.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm just so cynical about it now at this point.
Yeah.
But it's okay because we have games, and that's what we love. And luckily, it's been a boom for staying at home and getting to delve into some new stuff. Anything big that you all have been playing? Anything new? I mean, there was a Cyberpunk update, but there was no big things on my end to report. So, end of that.
You know, it's only a week to the the Monster Hunter Rise, so you know what games I have been playing the whole week.
Have you managed to get any more sleep? We were concerned about you last week.
Of course, of
So
course.
convincing.
Yeah, I do think I do take a good rest of it. I mean, I can't just throw everything other than Monster Hunter in my life and not do them. So I do have to control myself a little bit, but I do keep a decent time of playing.
Good.
In a better
Very
manner, in a better time manner. Yeah.
That's good.
I haven't been playing anything new, but I have been playing something old. I've been playing through, or I basically just started like this past week, playing through the Metroid Prime series again. Because I have the collector's like triple package for the Wii, where all three of the bundled games are on the Wii. So I wired up my Wii U and it still works, so I started playing it, and it is a lot of fun. It's a bit dated. The graphics are not amazing. I mean, it's a game.
But is that an aesthetic thing?
No, they look bad. Like,
Oh.
it's blurry. It's made for the GameCube. Like the original Metroid Prime came out, I think, in like the early 2000s. It's just not a very pretty game anymore, but it still plays fantastically. It's amazing.
Might have to get another CRT. They should make like a CRT app that would convert, at least make visually display similar to a CRT TV on an LCD. I think that would be good for reimagining old games on a newer screen, because that's definitely one of the bigger things that I've seen in the past. I mean, that's why all of the old competitions all the competitions you see of Melee, they're all done on a CRT because you can't. It's the input lag and everything is just so not.
Yeah, but
built.
Those people are crazy and taking it a little too far, if you ask me.
Well, hey, we support.
Send on the hate mail.
At the Museum of Art of Digital Entertainment, we support Melee tournaments and we support the continued use. We even support original Smash Bros. We actually hosted tournaments at the made space of Melee tournaments and Smash 64 tournaments. Great group of kids and not kids. I mean, they're not like there's a lot of just. I don't think there is many children playing Melee anymore. The level of
Melee's too hardcore.
If you're good at Melee, you break the game on a consistent basis in order to maintain your high level of play, which is another thing that just still kind of blows my mind. But I guess that goes into metagaming, which I think would be an interesting little conversation for one of these times. But regardless of that, Chun, you need more sleep. Anthony, are you still playing? Are you still playing? Oh my God.
Was it Ghost of Tsushima?
Yes, Tsushima.
Not anymore. I've finally moved on from that game. Still love it, but
what have you been playing?
Sail on. I just recently started Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm sort of
how is that?
Sucker for action adventure platformers. I'm really liking it so far. I thought it was going to be this sort of just very linear kind of progression through the game, but it's actually, some parts are kind of open world-ish. So you have the freedom to, if you want to go talk to these locals, which, by the way, the environment is just so beautifully done. You're put into these sort of settings where there's just a lot of people. There's a lot of sort of storytelling going on. It's super, super awesome. Also, have a soft spot for story, like really good storytelling, exposition.
Is it is the world building really satisfying? Like they really make you feel immersive and in it?
Yeah. It really rewards you for sort of exploring kind of like all the little nooks and crannies. Talking. You have the option to talk to various NPCs, and they'll give you some backstory on what's going on around the world, and that's relevant to the story. Of course, it's not like all this unnecessary expo dumps.
Okay.
And, I feel, the game is Tomb Raider. So the main mechanic of the game is, raiding tombs. So it feels very relevant. So
what?
So yeah, I'm very satisfied with this game. Interesting enough, Crystal Dynamics also worked on this game, which I was surprised on seeing that they were involved with this series. So
hopefully they can add some more flair to the future.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really, really great game.
Awesome. Well, I think is it that time? Is it that time, y'all?
Is it time to wrap it up?
Unfortunately, I think it might be. We can go on all day. One of these days, we might have to have like a chat episode, just going deeper and deeper into what we've been doing. Thank you for listening to the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment's official podcast. If you have any thoughts, questions, corrections, or general museum ideas, shoot us an email at info@themade.org.
We'd like to send a big thank you to everyone who donated recently and to our Patreon supporters who keep the Made afloat. Patreon donors get to listen to this podcast 1 week before it's released on major streaming services, and we'll continue that with future episodes every week. Till then, I'm Miles.
I'm Chen.
I'm Anthony.
And I'm Red. Thanks, and we will see you next time. I guess we've never really seen you. We'll hear you next time, or you'll hear us next time. Bye.